Hi. Welcome back to #How to Run for President 2, U.S. Political Structure at Berg Mountains Optional University. This session we cover the 15th Amendment on voided color restrictions passed February 26 or 1869. Won't you come along with us?
Chapter 15, Week 1. A. Alpha, Buchanan, Coolidge. Voided color restrictions. From reds and blues to blacks and whites or even blues to grays or greens, excluding the minority should no longer be considered, as their position is equally under sovereign direction. The protagonist wants the antagonist to be harder to overcome to make for a more interesting story. The reds are concerned with those landowners of the republic, while the blues are the voice of those living on the land as democratic equals, but greens are just hoping that everyone eats all their vegetables. As the reds and blues like the Montagues and Kappulets battle over power and control, seldom considering the science of agriculture, the greens stand behind. What is a hamburger without lettuce, tomatoes, or grain for bread, not to mention the French fries? As color precedes shape with visual sense perception, if founded on justice, the shape can be any color. So, color is an arbitrary attribute of the shape of our democracy, which can be red, blue, green, white, or black. We wouldn't suggest painting the Whitehouse green, but there's a lot that can be done when interior decorating. But we are not talking about interior decorations. We are talking about men being created equally regardless of their skin color. The human being is so much more than the envelope of bones and muscles we travel around in. How else do we remember the day before yesterday or a cousin twice removed than by that intangible attribute of the mind called memory? How else will we learn #How to Run for President? That intangible attribute of government called administration should be void of color restrictions, as biology does not determine physical ability or mental capacity.
The intangible attribute of what we have built with no hands has nothing to do with our physical biology and all about the political structure we have created called order. The same as water is 2 parts hydrogen and 1 part oxygen, and anything attributed to it adds to its impurities. So too is man 2 parts mental, memory and reason, and 1 part physical, where some things attribute to man's impurities. Those impurities are trivial perceptive preferences, whereas if most had a mole on their nose and few didn't, those with the mole may think having a mole was normal. Biology is a studied science, but it is just an attribute that we attach to man. Like languages, we learn a horse is nothing unless we know what one is, so we have the horse, the mental image of the horse, and the word horse. The word horse is an impurity attributed to the animal, but the best we have. Our Food and Drug Administration only allows a certain amount of harmless impurities to water, and it can still be sold as water. These biological differences and battles over dominant and recessive attributes are just objects of our perception which mask the man or woman inside. And even though I'm saying woman to be politically correct, gender is as well a biological category, but we will speak of that in another chapter. Those with certain features are drawn to what is most familiar, and sure, everyone prefers a dominant position, but if we are to detach ourselves from royalty permanently, we must also detach ourselves from biology and the color attributed to its results.
The color of one's skin, which is a byproduct of one's biology, has nothing to do with one's physical ability, as some are more endowed than others. Biology and skin color can't determine one's capabilities, as one position may be stronger now, but another position could surpass the former in the future. There are those with handicaps on either side of the spectrum of our color wheel, and deficiencies, we would presume, result from both sides naturally equally. There was a study done on the milk which was distributed throughout Harlem versus that of other communities in New York, where it caused premature health problems in those from Harlem, but that is some form of oppression by one and against another. There has been no study which convincingly proves the physical superiority on one over another. Thus, we all have the same relative physical potential any other man would in the same weight class with the same intensity of practice. Likewise, endurance mirrors practice, whereas individuals determine their own destiny as we have ours.
The color of one's skin, which is a byproduct of one's biology, has nothing to do with one's mental capacity, as some are more knowledgeable than others. Biology and skin color can't determine one's educational experiences, as one may seem more knowledgeable than another, when they are only more disciplined. I told my adolescent nephew once to get back out of the way so that I could kill the wasps I told him lived under the soffit of our home by the front porch. He said something like, "Uncle Henry, if they live there, why do you want to kill them?" He was so pure and innocent that my age, experience, and discipline made what I was doing seem somewhat dim-witted. But man is a social creature where black and white, red and blue, or orange and green are only attributes of the people we are. So voided color restrictions become necessary when one considers others' mental capacities. I was obsessed with killing the wasps out of a discipline which regarded human life above other forms, while my nephew took the position that all life has its place on this earth. We may not be ready to say a wasp is equal to a human, but surely, we can say that a human is equal to a human.
The position that government should be void of color restrictions couldn't be supported more by those here at Mossberg, as we could use all the votes we can get, but not at the expense of supporting color restriction to appeal to the crowd. Our political structure is colorblind, as one who follows its orders are more valuable than 10 who do not. Skin color can't determine the better of two physically, as in arm wrestling the one with more arm strength determines the victor of the challenge. Sure, many of the president's citizens could defeat him/her in a one-on-one physical contest, but it is not about physics but its order. Color restrictions must be voided, as order is a mental construct.
That's all we have for this time. Feel free to reread for a better understanding and your better interpretation. Next session we cover the 16th Amendment, which directs Congress to collect taxes, as passed February 3 of 1913. We can't wait to see you there then. Thank you for your time and consideration.